All right, welcome back to Tampa Bay Today at Podcast Radio Tampa Bay. I am Schreiner, along with our executive producer, Hoppe, from the Hoppe Hour. And we're going to have a moment right here to speak with him to learn more about who he is, what his podcast is about, so you can know the people that work with us here at Beasley Media Group. How you doing today, Ryan? Or actually, let's just do it right. Call you Hoppe. Everybody calls you Hoppe.
Yeah, it's funny. I'd say about 2 people in my life call me Ryan. No one does.
I kind of have the same way. My first name is Kurt, but the only people who call me that are my immediate family who grew up with me, family, or, women I'm dating who don't want to call me by the name that...
I have the exact same thing.
That people know me as. So, yeah, Hoppe is the way to go. And just so people know, if you want to do a search for him, it's going to be Hoppe.
Not Hoppy. A lot of people will say Hoppy. That's incorrect.
Right. It's pronounced as if you saw the word spelled that way, but it's with an E. Hoppe.
Yes.
And the Hoppe Hour is your podcast. So tell us a little bit about your podcast and what's involved with that.
I've wanted to go on the radio since 2001-ish. So I've been listening to radio. I grew up in Chicago, and then I graduated in 2012 from high school, and then immediately went into some local radio in Chicago, and then I moved here to Tampa in 2015. And I've done a bunch of things here, but my show... It's like a morning radio experience and a podcast, and it's syndicated here on podcast radio throughout the day. Like, there's been times I've been driving around, like, St. Pete, and I'll turn on 1010, and I'll be like, oh, my goodness, that's me. It's cool.
Right. It always is kind of weird when you get to hear those things. Now, with the podcast radio network, the way that works is, and we have submitted you, and I think we need to get more content from you, or have you already submitted new, fresh content?
I've submitted them stuff from June, so I need to send them new stuff, because some of it's about, like, Scotty Scheffler getting pulled over by the cops, and it's like 3 months ago.
Right, so it's time to kind of move things up. So yours is a current events-based, topical type of show?
It's very, like, similar to, like, a morning radio show, because during my podcast format of it, which you can find by searching Hoppe Radio, I'll talk for 20 minutes, play a song, play, like, a unlicensed rap song. That part's not heard on podcast radio. You'll hear like the best 10 minutes of it.
Right, and that's the way Podcast Radio Network works with everything, because it's fascinating and yet sometimes also frustrating. I remember listening to Alan Alda do an interview with Paul McCartney, and when they came back, it was something else. But it was also interesting, but I'm like, oh, now I got to go find the rest of that. Or you're listening to a Navy SEAL talk about how it's 3 o'clock in the morning in the frozen waters of the Pacific, and they're laying in the water, and they're trying to get them to quit. Give it up. You'll never be a Navy SEAL. And they go to commercial, and they come back, and it's not the story. Did he make it? Did he become a SEAL? Or did he ring the bell and walk? So it's fascinating the way this works, and it gives you those nuggets that capture your attention and your imagination. And that's what's happening with your Hoppe Hour podcast as well. Hopefully there's the payoff that they follow and find you. And
it's been a huge increase in the last month since being on podcast radio syndicated.
And that's kind of the point. Now, you said search Hoppe Radio.
Hoppe Radio.
So Hoppe Radio, or will they find you if they do Hoppe Hour as well?
So my show is named Hoppe Hour with Ryan Hoppe, and then I have in quotations Hoppe Radio, because when you type in Hoppe Hour, there's a Bachelorette podcast called Happy Hour, so it doesn't always show Hoppe Hour. So it's easier. It's easier to search Hoppe Radio.
Got you, because they'll say, hey, are you really searching for Happy Hour?
Yes.
And they'll change what you're searching for.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a big thing. I always have to make sure that
it's annoying
that it is searching for what I am spelling for, regardless of my misspellings. Search for it. So Hoppe Radio, Hoppe Radio, and you'll be able to learn more. What are some of the topics that you are recording now in your podcast that we can look forward to maybe falling into rotation here on podcast radio?
I talk about celebrity news because it's not very divisive, because everybody likes to make fun of them. And there's been just so much content with Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez getting back together for no reason, and then having an even worse breakup than they did 20 years ago. That's been hilarious.
But is it or isn't? I actually had I had Bill Foley from Foley Family Law. Just last week, and he had been addressing this in some of his podcast material.
What did he say?
He was saying, well, obviously, because these are celebrities and they're going through this, and we joked about, we've all seen the video and even the meme of Ben Affleck holding the door for J-Lo as she gets in the car, and then he's rolling his eyes so far back in his head as he slams the door that, my mom would say, you roll your eyes like that, one day they're going to get stuck and they won't come back down. And we talked about these things coming public, but when it comes to the divorce, since she filed on the anniversary of their second anniversary of their wedding this time around, I was like, that was just cruel. But as we talked about it, he goes, they did it all in advance. Maybe they agreed to do it on that day. So it's not like there was going to be a surprise. These celebrities, at this point, they've learned and been through it a few times. Not necessarily, although these two have been through it multiple times, but even a celebrity getting divorced for the first time, they will work, if at all possible, to do it amicably, quietly, file it and be done so it does not get drawn out in the public eye.
They didn't sign a prenup, which was not the smartest decision.
Yes or no, because they're both going to be okay.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know who is making more money at this point, but if they agree in this divorce, and I have not seen the paperwork, to just say, listen, we're going to walk with what we came in with, anything we bought together, we're going to, split evenly. If you're an honest person and if you're not trying to, maybe you were wronged, maybe the other person cheated on you and you have a reason to be mad and end the marriage, or maybe you realize you're just not meant to be together, whatever. If you're going to be honest, even if you've been hurt, and you just go, you know what, 50-50 and walk, you keep your stuff from before the marriage, I'll keep mine, which, by the way, would happen anyway.
Yeah.
It's not like they have access to anything they've earned before the marriage, and it's so short. It's easier just to go, we were only together 2 years. We didn't make that much money together. Let's walk.
I just don't know why they thought it was going to work a second time, because you never go back to an ex. It's a reason they're an ex.
I would say, yeah, by majority, I mean well into the high 90th percentile. They're an ex for a reason. Do not go back. But there are the exceptions. Now, what do you think, speaking of celebrity
news?
Celebrity news and celebrity weddings, since we're on the topic of divorce. What about Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn, who are not married and have had a wonderful relationship as a quote-unquote married couple for decades?
I just often find it fascinating when older couples break up when they're in their like golden years, because then it's like you kind of have to begin over, and then it's kind of like weird,
he did talk about gray divorce too, not celebrity couples, but just regular couples who have been together maybe 20, 30 years. They've raised kids. They're now facing an empty nest situation, and they're getting a little grayer, and they decide it's just time to go.
Yeah, I know who they are, but I haven't really read that much into that celebrity breakup.
Into that particular one? Well, here's the thing. No, my point is they have not broken up. They were never married.
Oh, okay.
They were never married, but they have been together since 1983.
I was -10 then. I wasn't even born.
Right. I was 14. So, looking at that, we're talking 40 plus years.
Yeah.
They have been in movies together. They have blended their families from previous relationships. They have a child of their own. They have their grandparents with 7 grandkids. And they're still together, but never technically married. They're one of the longest standing couples that Hollywood has ever seen.
The blended family thing is a real thing, because that's what's going on with Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck, is that their kids from their previous relationships and whatnot like both sides. So that's kind of what's tricky too, is Ben's kids seem to like J-Lo and J-Lo's kids seem to like Ben. So
yeah, it's complicated.
Messy.
Anyway, so that's not one that you would talk your more current event, and they are not being eventful. They are a happy couple together. As a matter of fact, the last time I saw them on screen together, and I have not seen
Where'd you see them?
The second movie in this series. It was the what was the Santa Claus movie that Kurt Russell did? Drawing a blank. He was like, he was making the thing about, I'm not fat, why do they keep drawing me fat? Which, kind of turned me around on the fact that Santa doesn't have to be the Coca-Cola fat Santa anymore.
Yeah.
That Santa can be healthy, because that's one thing kids tell me. They go, it's not that my beard isn't real or my boots. I look real, but I'm not fat enough to be the real Santa.
That's mean.
That's well, I guess thank you. You're not fat enough to be the real Santa. They're poking me in the belly and they go, see, it's not jiggly enough. I'm like, that's right. I haven't had my Christmas cookies yet. You should see me the day after Christmas. I'm huge. The movie, and you'd think I'd remember, it's called The Christmas Chronicles.
Never heard of it.
Oh, you got to check it out. Goldie Hawn has an appearance at the end of the first movie.
Yeah.
As his wife, she comes home after the end of a long day and all the chaos that had ensued in his life. They came up with a second one, which even as Santa-focused as I am, as people listen to the show know that I look like a healthier version, not perfectly healthy, but healthier than the typical Santa described.
Doesn't it even say it outside of your office? Like,
yeah, somebody put it on my placard outside my office. Yeah, they put Santa on there. And we're planning some things for Beasley Media Group as well as my own. It's going to be fun. Hey, I told them down the hall at our sister station, Wild, if they want to do Christmas karaoke and do Christmas in Hollis, I'm game.
Santa Shriner.
I'll do that with it. So, so I haven't even seen the second Christmas Chronicle, so I don't know if she appeared in that as well. But anyway, so we'll get off of that because that's really not in your ballpark. But we look forward to hearing more of the Hoppe Hour on Podcast Radio Tampa Bay.
I can't wait.
And I'll keep asking you. Have you sent, like every month, send them a few new clips?
Oh, I'm going to today. I got so much to send them.
Good. I love it every time. I will tell you, it gives me a little bit of a smile.
Yeah.
Every time I hear them introduce another segment of the Hoppe Hour podcast.
And
I'm just like, oh, Ryan's got to be so happy. And then I listen to see what you're doing, and I love your show.
And the good part is I have a new rap song intro. I didn't make it, but Courtney Brown, who used to play in the NFL, made it. So today's new episode will have the new intro.
When will that be posted?
Probably 7 p.m. tonight.
Oh, so tonight. So look up Hoppe Radio.
Hoppe Radio, yes.
Right, Hoppe, Hoppe Radio. If you want to learn more about the Hoppe Hour podcast and one of our valued team here at
Appreciate
Beasley
it.
Media Group, Tampa. All right.